is that?
The Levite. But Mbachi Mando, welcome to ZamChat podcast.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, it's good to have you, man. Man, you're always looking sharp.
Well, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
What's your secret, man? You're always tight.
I guess it's being a pharmacist. we are always trained to be sharp, I guess. I don't know, maybe habits. I don't know.
But it's good habits to have, I think.
It is. It is. Well, I think it is. It is. Yeah. But it's good to be here. I received the call and I think I've been looking forward to this, and it's really good to be here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
Pharmacist of the year. That's very nice.
Thanks. I should have come with my I should have come with my medal.
Yeah.
With my medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be like you when I grow up.
I should have come with my medal. But you know what? You know what? This is something that I was deliberate about.
Okay.
Yeah. I planned that I'm going to win an award this year. So I'm glad that I got that award.
Oh yeah, well deserved.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to get such level of recognition.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. Although, yeah, it comes with a little bit of, just a little bit of money, though. But
really?
yeah.
How am I learning about that only now?
Well, you were not there. You should have seen.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have seen.
Okay. Well, that's nice. I guess we'll talk about the money later.
Yeah. How's ministry going?
Good. We're pushing. It's been a little bit on a slow pace for me this year, 2023. But I'm anticipating a very busy year next year. But all is well. Because I've done what I needed to do this year. Yeah.
How do you how do you handle being? Because I know you are quite busy when it comes to ministry, and then again you have like a demanding job as well in the middle of that. How do you, by ministry I mean like, because you do like preaching, you are in different places, but again you are a pharmacist, busy. How do you handle just being like an evangelist? You are, by the way, Mbachi is an evangelist. So how do you handle being an evangelist with like so demanding job that you have as a pharmacist?
Well, it appears complex from afar, but I think as far as I'm concerned, from my point of view, it has really been manageable. And I think the core thing for me is to have a very good understanding about myself and what I stand for and what defines me. I always say I'm firstly an evangelist before I'm a pharmacist. And I think everything rides on the fact that I have a call on my life, and this is what I do, but also that I have a responsibility because of the career that I've taken up. Thank God, so far I don't have any conflicts with regards to my work as a pharmacist and what I do as an evangelist. So I do manage to balance. Sometimes it can be crazy. I would be probably like out of the city over the weekend preaching somewhere far, and then I'm only driving into Lusaka early in the morning, just go home, change, and then I'm at the office as well. But it's something that has become a part of me, and it's not difficult to really balance them, at least for now anyway.
When you understand yourself, because it's funny, because Actually, this episode is well, today we're shooting back-to-back episodes. We were just chatting to Dr. Kuku,
Yeah.
where we were talking about how, in most cases, I don't know about you, if in this case, like in most cases, you find that you probably do something, like for instance, you've done pharmacy,
Yeah.
but your true passion isn't really in pharmacy. Your true passion is in something else. And then you just kind of like find yourself in this profession. Is it like, could be maybe by chance or maybe by certain pressure beyond you? Is it like, is it the case for you, like with pharmacy? Is it like, it was like secondary option? You just find yourself doing this, but really your true passion is in ministry?
Well, I had always wanted to study something medical, and pharmacy was really something that, of course, with the help of my dad, I landed on, and I don't really think I had an option. I don't think if I told my dad, well, I'm gonna be studying theology and I'm gonna become a pastor, I don't think that is something that
He wasn't going to take kindly.
yeah, I think his philosophy had been, well, do something that I'll be sure you'll be stable with, and then after that you can do whatever you want to do. So I think knowing that, it was easy for me to go for pharmacy. And I don't think pharmacy is a by the way thing for me. I think I did consider a number of things before I did pharmacy. For example, one of the reasons I did pharmacy was how diverse it is. The fact that you can be a pharmacist and be a pharmaco whatever. And I think that really helped for me. And I have passion for pharmacy, and I think so far I think I have achieved what I've achieved in my profession because of the fact that I'm passionate about what I do. But like I said, when it comes to ministry, I think that is me. That is, I think I can simply say I'm an evangelist who is also a pharmacist. So, and I think even when I was studying for pharmacy at diploma level, I had an option to whether go into ministry and just go all out in ministry or do pharmacy. But I understood earlier that pharmacy was something that I was also supposed to do, even as I moved on as a minister. So I think I'm all sold out in both.
In both.
At least for now.
Talking about like your dad, him telling you to say, okay, do this before you can. Do you feel like as parents, because even when we were growing up, it's almost like every kid just wanted to be there. Even parents would tell you to say, okay, you go to school so that you can become a doctor, or you can become a lawyer, or you can become a teacher. It was almost like these are the things that you need to do as you grow up. But the world is so diverse. There's so many things out there. But as parents, do you feel like sometimes there's that limitation to the way we were growing up, with the way they wanted us things to be done?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say.
Or it was just maybe their level of exposure.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to see. I think with experience, people tend to become very conservative, and you want to be precise with the decisions that you're making, and I think consequently that also comes on us as children, because I think as a parent they want to be sure you're not only choosing a career, but you're choosing something that I think a factor would be that would you have a job probably in the immediate? Is it going to be lucrative as quickly as possible? And so I think in also just trying to help a child, start and establish themselves as quickly as possible. And if parents want to let go of you or deal with yourself, it is easy to tell you, okay, do this, and then whatever you do afterwards is none of the business. So as it was, I was supported for my diploma. All right, that gave me really the resources to do what I needed to do on my own. So I went ahead and studied a degree in theology. So I needed no permission to do that. At least that had placed me in a place where I could have my own money and then be able to study what I needed. And also took myself for a degree for pharmacy. So there's wisdom in how they approach certain. Of course, there's a thin line when it comes with having parents who would have a tyrannical approach of some sort. But I think some advice is sound and it helps.
Do you think you're talking about like like a lucrative career? Do you think pharmacy is lucrative enough, like to in Zambia? Yeah, like if you were to advise someone today to pursue a career in pharmacy,
for the money?
Is it like, or of course to say like it's not about the money. Sometimes at the end of the day, somehow money has to be there, is it?
Somehow money has to be there. That's a tricky question.
It's tricky. Yeah,
that's a tricky question. I don't think I would be able to, and I stand corrected, to point at somebody who was solely just stuck to what pharmacy offers in Zambia and has really made so much out of it. I think people have diversified, even as there are pharmacies and they found other things to do and all of that, and many other things. I don't think we have systems in place currently in Zambia that would really just support the career of pharmacy and just make you very financially comfortable as it stands now. I think the systems in Zambia need a lot of help, especially when it comes to pharmacy. Of course, one thing I can appreciate about pharmacy, I think, in comparison to any other medical career, is the fact that you have got a lot of options with regards to where you get a job. You've got,
but not so many though. Like,
in comparison to other,
other professional,
other professions, than probably maybe nursings, with all due respect, and maybe clinicians. Their places of work are very limited. But for a pharmacy personnel, you've got retail pharmacy, for example. On top of that, you've got the private hospitals. You also have, the wholesale and all of that. Of course, the pay is, I wouldn't really say competitive and all of it, but at least you have options. But I think the environment that Zambia kind of offers right now, I don't think just being a pharmacist and sticking to what is available now for pharmacists provides anything substantial for you to become very financially stable. I think there should be an entrepreneurial approach towards it, and a lot of innovation just with regards to how you earn a living as a pharmacist in Zambia. Yeah.
And just what we're talking about that. What do you think has really like caused that in terms of, because I feel like there's a little bit of stagnation. Like I can say right now, I'm not a prophet, but I can almost prophesy to say that in the coming years it's going to be really tough. I think hopefully we have pharmacists that are watching this, but it's especially students who are doing pharmacy, that is going to be really tough to find a job in the coming years, as not just even as pharmacists or anything like that, but just in all spheres of professions in general. But like talking about pharmacy, for instance, is that there's so many universities that have opened up right now.
Yeah.
And like each university is offloading maybe 100 to 200 graduates per year, and we've got, I think, over how many universities are producing pharmacists now?
Quite a number.
Maybe 5 or so, over 5. So if each university is producing at least 200 to 250 graduates per year, you have got roughly 2,000 pharmacists maybe every year being offloaded on the market. And it's going to be very tricky for even the government to take up those people, even the private sector, because there's just so much that you can take up.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a consequence of the output that universities are having. I think the downside to that is that we do not really have a lot of systems in place to pick up such numbers as they come. And I think that is why our approach must change. Just as you were saying, you're not a prophet, but you can prophesy, and in the coming years, this will be a situation. I think that is why each and every person should take a different approach when it comes to this. I really do not see any other way apart from the fact that everyone must become very innovative and entrepreneurial. If not, then we'll be relying on systems that are not ready to pick up a lot of people that are coming. And I think there are a lot of opportunities out there in the private sectors, but I think somehow even the trainings that we have had as pharmacy kind of not helped us a lot. I'll speak about this from experience. I'm in management now, and there's a certain behavior that pharmacies and pharmacy technologies have in general. I'll tell you, it is easy for me to identify a nurse, for example, in my organization, because they can actually diversify themselves and maybe interact more with other professionals. And so it becomes easy for you to be able to place them in different positions. I found pharmacy to be kind of quite enclosed. You would find you have a pharmacist who is just limited to the pharmacy. They just walk into the hospital, and their business is just about being in the pharmacy, and that does not help so much. And so I don't think we are trained to really think outside the box as pharmacy personnel, even though our profession, in my own opinion, is, I think, the most broad out there, because you can diversify and touch on a number of things. But yeah, I think we need to be very innovative. We need to come on the market with the mindset that the systems are not very helpful currently, and we must begin to, pave different ways in which we can be able to thrive. Otherwise, I think we are going to have a lot of jobless pharmacists and pharmacists out there.
Yeah, I can almost foresee that. And speaking of management,
Yeah.
how do you find yourself with Howard University? And you know what? I was just doing a research
Mhm.
about Howard University,
Yeah.
and there's quite what you call them alumni, bright. The people who've gone to Howard University. There's Chadwick Boseman,
Serious.
the great Black Panther. May he so rest in peace.
Yeah.
Taraji P. Henson
Mhm.
and Nick Cannon have all been to
The current vice president.
the current vice president of yes,
Yeah.
she's also been there. And I was just checking the the acceptance rate is what 35%.
Mhm.
For you to just be accepted at the university.
Mhm.
It's more like it's easier to go to the moon than to get a place. What's the acceptance rate at UNZA? Or
This time around,
those days it was tough. Do you think that it's our universities? There's a lot of dilution. Maybe like they're just accepting any Jim and Jack, any paper because of money.
Well, that's I think that's a very subjective question. I remember when you and I were in school, there were those who came before us who told us, "You chaps are doing that.
You chaps are nothing."
Yeah, exactly.
How did you find yourselves?
How did you find yourselves here and all of that? I don't know from what perspective they spoke, but I'll tell you one thing. I've had an opportunity of having some interns from named universities come through work, and we try to orient them on what we do and just train them. My program is highly associated to ART, so they would come through, and you would be shocked that even though we were being taught in our time that we didn't know much, these kids will shock you with regards to what they don't know.
I'm really surprised, and it's a good thing you've brought that topic, because the kids that are coming out of university nowadays, if it's a pharmacist, talk about the mechanism of action, even just a simple thing like simple side effects of NSAIDs, for instance, which somebody should know, should like on their fingertips, it should be there. But these kids of nowadays don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there are a lot of control measures that need to be put in place, and I think COVID did not help a lot. I think they missed out on a lot because of the fact that classes were disturbed and all of that. But I think
you think it's COVID, or it's just the approach to life that I feel there's just a little bit of laziness. But anyway, like you were saying, even our elders said we were lazy.
Exactly. But there are a number of things that you can associate to what is happening now. For example, if you have one university, for example, offering a specialty, it is easier to regulate that. All right, and it is easy to put in different measures to ensure that quality is sustained. But where you have a number of universities come through, and the funny thing is, you find this lecturer who is everywhere. Now you're wondering, okay, how is he managing to offer the same quality of, training? Well, of course, it'll be different, because even the amount of people that are coming in increase and all of that, and the attention also goes down a little bit. And I think what has happened is that a lot of universities have come up, a lot of people have been allowed to go into these universities and study, but I don't think there were deliberate measures to look into what happens when all of these numbers begin to come through. And I don't know if I would easily defend this, but universities are also money-making institutions.
I think so, man. I think for me, I think that's the number one.
Yeah.
I think universities have now become diluted because you have to make money anyway.
It's really crazy. I mean, you would find third year diploma students, even fourth or fifth year pharmacists come to your workplace, and you expect that they would know some things you knew even when you were in second year, but it's not really the case.
It's crazy.
It's not really the
It's
case.
crazy, and
Sometimes I've had to defend my lecturers because I know these are the people who taught
who
me.
taught you,
Yeah,
and
because somebody is saying something, and who taught you this?
but you still remember like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
you know.
So no, this guy taught me. There's no way he could have told you that thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I think a lot of things really have to be done to regulate more. Otherwise, we are in trouble.
It's crazy, and I'm just looking at this. Another statistic. I think this is Harvard University. Acceptance rate or percentage is 4%.
4%. Probably we
4%. MIT is 4%.
Well, you are into these things, so do a research. That's a very good,
interesting, right?
research on and see what's really happening.
Yeah, but the completion rate is high. It's about 94, 95. Once you're accepted there, your chances of finishing are high.
Wow.
Unless you drop out like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or something. So man, how did you find yourself working at Howard University? And
how did I find myself? Well, I applied just like everybody else. Somebody saw an ad, told me about it. I applied, attended an interview that took.
I'm sure it's like,
hour.
yeah, I'm sure it's the recruitment procedure is crazy.
It is. I think just like any other reputable organization, they want to ensure that they target a specific type of people and get the best to work for them. So thank God I had that opportunity. And if you remember that time, I just had quit my previous job where I was working as a farm tech in a retail pharmacy. Yeah, so I didn't know much about Howard, and I think the time they were coming into Zambia. Not many knew about them, and I was actually among the first 5 who were employed to actually start the project in Zambia. So it was very challenging, interesting, but I think I've been there for over 5 years now. I've gained a lot of experience, a lot of exposure. Howard University really demands the best.
Certain level of.
Exactly. I think one thing I like about Howard is the fact that they're not shy about exposing you to things that will really help you grow too quickly. Sometimes they will just throw you in the water and see how you will swim and all of that. So, and not only that, I think they are very quick when it comes to identifying talent and ability and pushing you to doing other things. Yeah. So, how did I find myself there? Well, I applied, and it turned out I made it. And it also turned out that it was a good place for me to thrive. And I have.
Because it's important, like as someone who's ambitious, you need a certain environment that can help you thrive. If you're in an organization for 5 years or over 5 years, or longer than that time, you need to be in an environment, I think, that helps you to grow as not just as an individual, but also in your own capacity as a professional. Because for me, I tend to get bored easily. If I'm doing the same thing, I'll get bored.
Yeah.
Well,
that's really true, and that helps. Really, that helps. For example, I started out as just a farm tech, and I was responsible for an ART pharmacy where we were dispensing to stable plants in ART, Material General Hospital. So I started out from there. I think a year after, I became coordinator of the facility. Right. From there, I think a year later again, I became provincial coordinator, and then that was the same time I also became Pharmacovigilance coordinator at country level. So I think when you are identified as one who can take on the pressure, as one who can represent the organization effectively, defend it, and people are not worried about whether or not you'll be able to represent the organization with the highest standards possible. I think they are not shy about giving you the opportunity to rise up and express yourself even the more. So that has helped me not to really be bored, because at every given point I'm dealing with different challenges and also working at different capacities. Yeah.
Because for me, the reason why I say so is also that's the reason why I resigned from the government. I think I've never spoken so much about this, but
yeah,
I only worked for less than a year. I just felt like I was being chopped.
Oh, yeah.
I worked there, I think, 11 months. It just
11 months.
yeah, 11 months.
It was less than that.
It was about 11 months somewhere, 10, 11 months. But I quit because literally quit because I feel like, not that I've got anything against the government or the people who work in the government. I think as human beings we're different.
Yeah.
And like who was saying, I think like some of us who are just a little bit ambitious and you want to feel like you're a free bird,
Mm.
it feels like you are being choked in a certain uh,
Well, that's true. That's true. And well, at least you even worked for.
but you've never
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
wanted to go there. Even brides you've never wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I think for me, just deliberately, I knew I wasn't gonna work for the government.
We've got
At least in
nothing. We've got
capacity.
nothing against
No,
the
no,
government, but it's just
No, I think it's really difficult to be innovative because you're being introduced in systems that have existed before your grandfather existed, and, and not only that, but I think if you'd have to be innovative and think outside the box, as it is with any other system that has been in place for a very long time, you would end up being rebellious or labeled as rebellious and very irritating to the system. So it's a little bit. I think somehow because of I don't know if this is gonna sound like an accusation, but the control measures available in the governments are not as strong, so a lot of people are comfortable about going there. But if you would have to be in the private sector, man, they're gonna demand every bit
of you going to work for your man.
Exactly. You go and you have to work for it.
But it's good, I think, the work culture.
The work culture is good, but it can be straining, and unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people appreciate that. One of the advantages of working with the government as well is that sometimes you get to appreciate how your own working culture is different from the working culture of others. I think due to the fact that there isn't so much control, people are not forced to, push themselves and have a lot of things done. But if you're coming from the private, you have deliverables that you have to meet, certain things that you're being rated on that will eventually affect how the organization perceives you and how they treat you afterwards. But I think with the systems, most of the systems available right now in the government is that you have people who have just been working and they have never even been on a platform where deliverables are discussed or what is even the target for this and stuff like that. So, I mean, without having those things, it's quite difficult to be pushed or to push.
It's tricky.
So if you'd have to thrive, people that I've seen stand out are those people who just have that natural inclination to wanting to meet certain targets and a certain level of perfection, and they just want to be exceptional. You would see those thrive because despite what is surrounding them, they want to be effective in areas where they have been placed. That also, I think even the government helps out. People are recognized like that. But I think if you just want to be ordinary, you end up becoming a grandfather working in a clinic, the same place you have just been.
So now, like you joined Howard University, and then you've talked about how you move from certain position to a different position now that you are the national coordinator for the pharmacovigilance unit. looking at basically entirely the whole nation. What would you say, like, because you have that's a big position, right? And what would you say to especially I don't like saying, sometimes I find it a challenge when I say young people, because I really don't know who's a young person, because I believe I'm also a young person as well. So, but what would you say to ourselves as young people? What would you tell each other? Because you are in this position, but you're still quite young. What would you tell a young person to position themselves for such opportunities? Because I feel like most of us young people lack, maybe is it discipline, or maybe is it character to position ourselves for such big positions. So what would you say, like, maybe to a young person, how can they position themselves for such management positions, or for such big positions?
I think one thing I'll say about that is that growth and lifting in any capacity is kind of predictable. There are certain people I've looked at, even people that are under me, and I know it will be difficult for this person to go anywhere. And I know that, okay, this guy will really, really go somewhere. And one trait that really helped me is the fact that I was interested in knowing what are the gaps that are there with regards to achieving the set goals that the organization has put in place, and how was I going to be useful in attaining those goals. And not only that, but your ability to go an extra mile. I remember sometimes I'll just follow my boss and say, do you have anything for me to do? All right. That is, of course, after I'm done with what I needed to do. All right. And just pushing my boss to say, I can handle more. I can handle more than what I'm having. And most importantly, asking questions. I'm in a capacity where I have people under me, and I've noticed that a lot of people that have risen to different capacities have been people that have been so very curious, and they came to ask for questions. And when you ask about what you don't know, all right, consequently, the way the person you're asking questions is noticed, you will be noticed as well. I've been in meetings where my bosses don't interact with people that are under me, all right? But when they get an opportunity in a meeting to be with the bosses, and when they begin to speak, the boss would call you and say, that guy is talking like you, all right? That guy has an understanding, like how you have an understanding of things, all right? And when there was a promotion, the office called and they said, we have this position. What do you think about this guy? All right? And not that I even recommended, they came and they said, we have noticed that this and this and this guy is coming up, right? And things like that. So I think the ability to ask questions, don't leave room for anything that you do not know. One of the things that happens with funded projects is that the funder would come and just to investigate and see what is happening, how is the money they're spending being utilized for example, and they would have interactions with the people who are on ground. One thing that I made sure was even the things that I need, it was not even necessary to have them in my head. I probably could have had a piece of paper, and when they asked a question, I referred to. I made sure I memorized those things. Yeah, these guys would come randomly. I say, today, how many people were you expecting? have that on my mind. They would come and say, how many people do you have? The entire hospital. And sometimes you would even have more information than the owners of the hospital.
Really?
Yeah. And these guys would be like, wait, are you bringing these figures from your head? And then, oh, okay. And they want to confirm with the system, and they find that you are in sync with what everything with everything you're saying, and your boss is watching. Don't you think that is impressive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're representing your organization very well. So if there's a gap that you need to, that you have identified, fill that gap up. If you've seen that there's more you can do more. Sometimes even when you don't feel like you can do more. You were saying, well, you have two organizations. I mean, you have two positions in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of money. It may not necessarily be the case,
Mm-hmm.
but just the fact that you have been identified as somebody who your superiors can rely upon. You have asked the necessary questions. You have covered up the gaps that you need to cover up. And also, when you're working for anyone,
Mm-hmm.
any organization, realize consequently that you are the face of that organization. I would love for people to think of me when they think of Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because I have become so in sync with who I'm working for that it is easy for your superiors to be comfortable with the fact that they can elevate you in whatever capacity, and you would not embarrass them. I've had situations where I'm just working within Lusaka, and my regional director is in South Africa. And there was a time funders came through, and they were just trying to see how we are working.
Mm-hmm.
And I was invited to that meeting. My boss couldn't make it, so she sent me to go in her capacity. So when I went there, and unfortunately they did not avail the agenda, precisely what they would have wanted from us and stuff like that. So I went there, and they told us to give a background and just how the project is performing.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. Now, if you don't know where the organization is, you've got no idea what its background is and everything like that. So, because I know these things, I just began to talk and, giving numbers, talking about how we're this percentage, we're different percentages, talking about, the challenges that we've had, the successes that we have had, and everything like that. I didn't know that one of the people amongst the people who had come called the regional director. Yeah, so I didn't know that guy called the regional director.
Mm-hmm.
And talked about how I presented myself. Now, these were nice things.
They spoke about those are good news. It gave a good news.
It gave very good positive feedback
Positive.
to my boss on just how I presented myself and how I represented the organization. That is good for for personal growth and being recommended for higher things, because if your boss, who did not even have business about hearing what you were doing on that particular day, can find himself conversating about someone with you, it is really something, and it helps people to feel comfortable to push you up. So I think that is what really has helped me, and I think people, the people that are coming up, people in our own capacity, we're still learning so much, but I think doing that really makes it easy for you to rise.
Because how do you how do you, in that capacity, in that management position, because we'll be able to get into, like, I think the amazing things that you've done, even in terms of pharmacovigilance, and I think help people understand what it is. But in terms of you being able to work effectively or manage your department effectively as a leader, what would you say is like your management style or your leadership style? How you inspire people to do what you want them to do?
Uh, I don't know if I should answer that question from using management language
From any angle,
anyway. Yeah,
any angle possible.
I think I have somehow replicated how I was treated before I entered management, and that is the fact that the people over me were really interested in seeing me grow. And so I really love to place people under me in situations that would deliberately build them. I'm not the kind of a leader who wants to do everything myself. And that, I think, has really helped me. I have a very competent team under me because they have been given room to really do so much that they wouldn't be stuck even if I'm not necessarily there. So I get to know people personally as well, and just get to know what their strengths are and quickly discover what their weaknesses are and help them work on them. So I have a personal approach. I'm not necessarily just a leader who's pushing do that and stuff like that. I think everything that I tell people to do,
you're able to do it yourself.
Able to do it.
So you lead from the front.
I think I do. I think I do, and sometimes I just tend to pick up one of the subordinates and say, "You're working with me today." I remember one young lady who was actually recommended even for a promotion at one particular time. I noticed that she would just stick to the clinician's room, but somehow she was kind of a little bit interested. So deliberately, I went and picked her off from her office, and I told her, "Today, you're going to make all the calls that I make on my own behalf. You're going to take notes for everything that people need from me and everything like that." So I went and picked her up, and I told her, "I've got these calls that I need to make." And I even called my superiors, and I told them, "You're going to be receiving some calls, not from me, but somebody will be calling you on my own behalf." And I explained what I was getting to, and they said, "Oh, okay." So everybody at the office expected that if Mbachi would love to make a call, somebody will call on his behalf. All right. So she would call, following up this on behalf of Mbachi and things like that. So she discovered that, and she was with a notebook, all right, writing everything. And at the end of the day, she discovered that she made a lot of calls, and she had a lot of action points, because wherever I go to, people are giving me issues. "No, we need to do this and this and this and this and this and this." And then she realized, I think at the end of the day, she had like 22, 23 action points with different timelines, most of them, of course, in the immediate. And now she wondered, how in the world do you do this? Because everywhere you go, people are giving you issues and stuff like that. And then I asked her, "How does it feel?" She was like, "Well, uh, it was actually very, very interesting. And from there, she told herself, I'll be calling you deliberately to see if there's anybody you need to call. I don't have a secretary. Uh, so she made herself
Your
my
secretary.
PA.
Your PA.
She made herself my PA. So because of that, the office got to know about her, and she also grew herself. All right, and it was easy for her to be recommended for a promotion. And quickly after that, she was recommended. So I'm hands on with the people that I lead. I get to identify them personally, and also just tend to inspire them to do uh, um, things that they thought they really couldn't do. Yeah, and deliberately I'll take them in meetings they've got no business.
Just to expose them.
Just
and
to expose them. So I really do enjoy exposing people. And there was one time, and I hope my boss won't crucify me for this. But there was a time I got busy, and I had school. I also had to work, and I have meetings with people who are under me. Consequently, I have to report to people who are over me, and I have to make like a presentation every week where I need to go and give that feedback, and it was becoming straining on me. So I identified somebody who wasn't doing much, and I told them, I need this presentation to be done, and I taught them how to do it. And they also became involved and consequently began to know things that are not necessarily at their level, but made them have a deeper understanding about what was going on. So I reached a point where if I have a meeting with my bosses, I only need to review a presentation which has already been prepared. Yeah. Now that puts some weight off me, but builds the
Somebody
other
else,
person.
yeah.
Yes, because if they are told to come and represent me, it won't be difficult for them. They have an idea of what goes on, and so I'm relieving myself from certain level of
but
pressure,
elevating
but
somebody.
elevating somebody because they're receiving such kind of exposure. And I think I pride myself in this. I don't know if there is anybody in the organization who work in my capacity who has produced leaders in the organization as much as I have. I have people who had worked under me at some point who serve in my capacity in different province, for example. I have a number of people who have been recommended to go to different provinces and begin to start up things that we had started here in Lusaka. So far I think I've done well for myself. Unless any of my subordinates would say no.
No, I think
I think
he did
hinders
this,
me
he does
and
that, he's
stuff like
blocking me or something
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah.
in the midst of all these, I'm sure it's not easy, like working with people.
Mhm.
I was watching Miles Monroe, who said that it's always difficult to work with people because of relationships. And he says relationships are the most stressful things in life because you're working with someone who has a different mindset that you have to. So in leadership, for instance, as you're working, what are some of the challenges that you face, especially like you are dealing with people? And I believe that's the most difficult thing, to get people to do what you want to do.
Mhm.
You face so many challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you face? Like try and get people to do what you want to do in terms of leadership.
Well, I think I would say people have got different characters. Um, People have got different ways of life, and consequently, those things affect how they approach work and things like that. It it is kind of a then you would have to deal with individuals as they come. You of course need to to define certain basic things that for example that are a baseline, and objectively you would measure those things on how you interact with each and every person. But I think people have got different approaches towards work. One of the challenges that I think I would face with people is their perspective on time. And you know, you would call somebody and say, I need this immediately, and immediately might be not how they perceive those things, and you know, just certain habits on how you know they handle their fellow workers. I've had situations where people did not really talk to each other the way they felt they needed to be talked to, and so it's all of these things where how people are individually eventually affects how you know they work, and also where they have been will also you know define how they respond to certain issues that affect work. But I think a major challenge has been on an individual's perspectives and individuals' lifestyles that eventually you know affect work. All right. For example, I'm a very sober guy, so you do not expect that I'll wake up on any day with a hangover. And then you have a workmate who's very hardworking, but their hangover on a Monday affects.
Well, that's almost like a thing that you said is complex. You have somebody who's hardworking, but then there's a certain trait, like you're saying, there's a certain kind of like a behavior that doesn't suit up with who they're supposed to be in that particular organization. What do you do in such a situation? Because it is tricky.
It depends with what kind of a leader you are. The leaders who are more concerned with results, they don't care about what is happening in between. They only want to see results. The leaders who would involve themselves as well with what is happening in between before those results come through. And as a leader, you have got the ability to destroy and make somebody right there in the immediate. So I think you have to measure certain. Unfortunately, I've gotten myself in such a situation where this guy really misbehaves. I'm having a very important meeting that I need to go to with him, and then the time comes, he can't be at work because he has a hangover. All right, but when you place the guy on the platform,
do the job.
The guy will do the job.
It's a paradox.
As a matter of fact, if you are going into a very difficult meeting, that's the guy you want to go with, because you conjure up, you know, answers and things like that. So I think you would have to try and help out on a personal level, and just see how you can build that person in that area. Like I'm saying, they can deliver when it comes to deliverables, but in between there's a lot of mess out there. And I think as a leader, You want to be that kind of a person that identifies that somebody has got to work on this, and I think you have to show them why you are doing a certain thing. I'll give an example of somebody at work who is very hardworking, very smart, and when he will talk to a funder, he will talk to anybody, and he will represent himself very well. When it was time for a promotion, I recommended him. They did not want him. Why? Because of how he dressed.
Wow.
Because of how he dressed. There is nothing. Okay, Howard is an American organization, so they're not very strong on dress codes and stuff like that. But as far as maybe the government would be in Zambia and stuff like that. So there are certain things that we would tolerate within the organization. But if I'm sending you to go and represent the organization to a government official,
you look in certain way.
Because when you just go the way you are, it's hard. We understand you, but if you go there, they'll probably will not take you so serious.
Yeah,
right? They will not take. So, what I had to do very, very quickly was to sit down with my guy and say, "Look, you're about to be promoted, but they're standing in my way. Why? Because of how you dress." So we had to quickly work on the dress code.
The dress code.
We've worked on this thing. We've worked on this thing. You can leave my guy now.
Interesting, man. That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's really how you invest yourself in each and every person. Because one thing that I've come to realize is that, when you know your people, you won't deliberately put them in situations that will expose them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I know there are people who are not very strong on time at work or keeping time. All right. If I'm scheduled to have something that is very important, strong on time, I'll deliberately avoid that person. All right? Especially where my superiors are even there, I'll deliberately avoid that person, because if I take them, I know I'll expose them. I'll expose them because I've probably put them in a spot where I'm yet to work on that,
certain character
and stuff like that. And I'll only be comfortable to, put them in such positions again when I know that they have worked on certain things. So, as you would realize, I guess leadership and management is an art, and I think you need to deal with each individual differently and help them see why you're doing certain things, because there are certain people who might misunderstand you when you demand certain things from them, even though they do not see why you're demanding those things from them. So I think it's quite complex.
It's quite complex.
It is interesting because you cannot deal with every person the same. So you have to really be invested in the people that are under you and help them as you identify certain issues that need to be worked on.
Interesting. And your work normally involves pharmacovigilance, which is like when you hear that word, it's like it sounds so complex.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just basically being able to report side effects or anything that happens when the drug is already on the market, is it? Or in simplest terms, but anyway, you explain better. Has there been a situation where you've reported a certain, maybe a reaction from a drug that somebody's taking, which has led to like a recall of that drug by Zambra, for instance, or anything like that? Or maybe somebody takes up that information to try and change some guidelines or anything like that in terms of traction or significance to what you've done?
Well, firstly, I think pharmacovigilance probably just break
You
it
do
down.
justice to that. You do justice.
Well, it's basically just a branch of pharmacy that
Mhm.
the branch of medicine that is concerned with safety, basically, and it goes beyond um, just identification and reporting of adverse drug reactions. It has to do with product quality concerns. It has to do with um, equipment uh, quality issues. It has got to do with herbal medicines. It's quite broad. It is basically um, I would put it as a system that has been put in place to regulate the quality of utensils and everything that is used in medical practice, and also just keys in on ensuring safety to the consumer. Yeah, so we've done a lot of work, and thank God for Howard University, which has really exposed me to so much in pharmacovigilance. Of course, we are a program that uh, is involved in ART, but we are very strong on pharmacovigilance. One of our mandates was to just partner with MOH and see how we can help when it just comes to pharmacovigilance. And consequently, I don't like to say these things because they sound like we are kind of bragging. In 2019, when I was when I was in I was doing direct service. I was actually the farm tech dispensing. Uh, I reported the most cases in Zambia. So that's how much Howard University pushed and ensured that I was reporting.
As an individual.
As an individual, I reported the most adverse drug reactions in Zambia, and consequently, of course, the organization to achieve that. Currently, unless statistics have changed, I think we report more than 90% of all cases that are reported to Zambia.
Of drug reactions.
Drug related
Reactions.
adverse drug reactions.
Mm.
Yeah, and not only that, I think the top 10 facilities that we support, that we've partnered with MOH, are all supported. I mean, the top 10 that report the most to Zambia are all supported by Howard University. To answer your question on whether or not we have reported a number of things that have resulted to a recall of a particular medication or that has informed policy, a recall, not necessarily, but there are a number of situations where Zamra had received some cases from maybe particular people who were doing some active pharmacovigilance, and then they wanted to see whether or not a particular drug was causing a number of adverse drug reactions, and then they asked you to watch that particular drug and see if something would come about. But when it comes to dolutegravir, for example, the time it was just introduced to Zambia,
That's the which one? The drug for HIV.
the drug for HIV was when they were moving from a drug called efavirenz, the triple therapy, tenofovir, lamivudine, and efavirenz, and now they were introducing dolutegravir and replacing the efavirenz.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we were taught was the fact that contrary to what was happening with efavirenz, where it would cause drowsiness and things like that, dolutegravir, one of the side effects recorded is that it would cause insomnia. So we were advised not to give efavirenz, to give dolutegravir in the morning. In the evening, because it would cause insomnia when patients uh, take it. But because we are strong on pharmacovigilance, we quickly started reporting all the adverse drug reactions that will be associated with dolutegravir and all of that. And we noticed that insomnia was not so much of an issue as it was reported. All right. But what that caused was that you have patients who have been taking efavirenz, most of them, and taking them in the evening, taking the drugs in the evening. So we had a lot of clients that are forgetting to take their medication in the morning because they're used to taking them in the evening, and all of that. So it began to cause some adherence issues and all of that. So when we looked into it, we were like, look, this thing is not causing insomnia as much as we anticipated it would. So we advised people to say, no, what you can do is tell clients to take the medication at the same time. Should insomnia then occur, you can change to take it in the morning. And we've seen that actually up to now, most of the clients still take dolutegravir in the evening. So that is something that due to the reports that we had.
So like the whole Ministry of Health have changed that because of the information that you gave out. So that policy in terms of at what time you take that particular drug.
I don't know to what extent, but at least I know that in areas where we partner with MOH, that is now the practice. And I think we've had different platforms where we have expressed those concerns, and I think it's common practice now. But yeah, of course there are people who still consider that, but I think generally what people are advocating for is that you tell the clients to take the medication at the same time. Should they then have an adverse drug reaction of insomnia, then they can be taking the drug in the morning. That does not cause a lot of problems than it would. And generally, we have demonstrated the fact that at least from the reports that we have had, and mind you, we are the major report, and I think we have established that it doesn't cause insomnia as much as it would. It was reported to do so in clinical trials, and this is where pharmacovigilance is really interesting. We don't produce medication in Zambia. Most of the information we have, even about adverse drug reactions, are things that were observed in preclinical trials and clinical trials, and
in other countries.
In other countries, yeah, and most of the human tests they did, they performed these tests, maybe in Caucasians and people with different genetic makeups, and you would expect, and this is why pharmacovigilance is important, that a particular drug will behave differently in different populations. And so that is why I think this has been very something that we have emphasized as our university, because we want to know how is this drug really performing in our population. We've seen some very amazing adverse drug reactions that were not even reported, but they're happening in our population. And we are aware that this drug can cause this and this and this. And I think consequently our reports are reported in the global database, so people can appreciate about the adverse drug reactions that are actually reported from Zambia. And I think I landed on a report. I'm not very sure how official this is, but when it comes to dolutegravir, I think Zambia should be number 3 globally when it comes to the number of reports that have been reported on dolutegravir.
Interesting. All because of your works.
We
Mainly
have contributed
attributed
so
to
much.
yeah.
Exactly.
So like with your work, uh what do you normally do? Like are you just supporting like the Ministry of Health
Mm.
when it comes to just reporting these reactions that happen with the drugs that people with HIV are taking, or
Mm.
is there something deeper to that? You provide funding and you need to monitor how is it like?
Well, mostly what we are doing is just and currently we are a technical assistant partner, so we are not even in these facilities reporting ourselves. What we do is to empower facilities through trainings and orientations so that they are well versed when it comes to reporting adverse drug reactions and any other pharmacovigilance related cases. So we support the ministry in that capacity where we train them and we orient them on the use of the tools, on just how to probe for adverse drug reactions and all of that. So um, mostly it is at that level where the cases are just reported and ZAMRA receives them. But because we wanted pharmacovigilance to be very patient-centered, what we introduced was something that really ZAMRA does, but we do it at facility level. And I know a lot of people have not been very comfortable with this approach, but I think if you want to generate a lot of adverse drug reactions within the government, you really need to have a very innovative approach, and that is to help healthcare workers realize how important pharmacovigilance is in the immediate. So here is what happens when ZAMRA receives a case. They sit down to now do what is known as causality, to really ascertain whether or not the adverse drug reaction reported can be associated to the drug. And to that effect, they write back to inform you of their findings. So when you are reporting at the facility, for example, you are simply just suspecting. You haven't done enough analysis to determine whether or not that drug really caused a particular adverse drug reaction. So a board sits down at ZAMRA to analyze the reports and doing a causality assessment to determine whether or not that particular drug caused that adverse drug reactions. That is where signals are even generated, because and this is where ZAMRA would release a statement saying, okay, watch out for this adverse drug reaction is being caused by this. That is where they would even decide to recall a drug when it is a lot of reports have gone there and they've determined that this drug is being problematic and all of that. So what we began to do is that we created committees within the facilities we support to determine causality in the immediate. Because while ZAMRA is doing so much, they are receiving cases from the entire country, and the process can take so long. They've been trying to work on that and give some responses, which is very good, but I think there's still a lot more that needs to be done. But just to help our patients, our clients in the immediate, what we did was we created pharmacovigilance committees, and we have people from the UTH joining. We have people, consultants from South Africa, Kenya, join into these committees where we bring cases that have been reported by the facility, and then you bring in leaders within the facility, like heads of clinical care and the clinicians themselves who reported those cases, and then begin and what
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and begin to look into those cases and determine whether or not those adverse drug reactions were caused by a suspected drug. And when they determine that, they institute then interventions to help a client. So that helps clinicians to realize that this is really important, because now you have consultants on board who would actually begin to look into how we can help that patient in the immediate. So while we have sent you a case to ZAMRA, we can also sit down and analyze those cases and help clients
Interesting.
in the immediate.
Right. How many minutes do we have? How many minutes are we remaining? We can
We have 4 minutes.
go on and on with this man right here.
Hey,
We have 4 minutes.
Now 4 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I'm about to let you go, but Bright says we've got 3 minutes. Anything that you wanna say?
well, in terms of what?
Anything really?
Well, thanks for really having me over. I've enjoyed our conversation. I think it has made me see how relevant the things we are doing are. Sometimes you can just be doing stuff and you're not really seeing how impactful they can be. But just to encourage professionals, we have a huge gap when it comes to pharmacovigilance, and a lot has to be done. Zambia is still very behind when it comes to just ensuring safety. And mind you, we have now moved to a place where even patients can now report adverse drug reactions directly to ZAMRA. So I think as health professionals, we really need to be on board and just push pharmacovigilance forward. And we owe it to our community to really ensure that they are protected with what they are consuming. And of course, I avoid to say this, but I expect that pharmacy will be in the forefront of this, because we're the very custodians of this medication.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbachi Mando, the Levite, aka the Levite. It was nice having you, man.
Thanks.
The national coordinator for pharmacovigilance
Pharmacovigilance.
unit at Howard University.
University.
Man, that's a national. How many people do you have under you?
Enough. A lot.
I need your grace, for such big positions.
Very done. Well,
And pray for me after this episode. All right. Thank you for watching ZamChat podcast. Until next time, bye.